Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. Tonight we have the Boy Scout Troop 312, and I would like to have Logan Wadsworth lead us in the pledge. Okay, before we approve the agenda, I'd like all you scouts up here in front of us, and we're going to take a picture, okay? So just line up here and crowd together as much as you can, and we'll do the same. We'll kind of have to associate with each other. Yeah. Oh, come on.
There.
Come on over this way. Not you.
Boy Scouts follow the orders. Oh,
Now, see,
you know.
karma.
Write him up. All right, here we go.
Thanks, guys. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mayor,
Councilman Kilpack.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Kilpack, seconded by Councilman Berg. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. And by the way, Councilman Shuttrin is not available tonight, and Councilman Jost is on a cruise somewhere. Doesn't seem right, but especially with the weather that we're having, he's in the Caribbean or something. And moving on. Citizen requests and other communications. Are there any citizens in the audience that are not on the agenda that want to address the council on any issues? Yes, sir.
Be discussing the trash removal.
Yes, we are. Okay, well, when we'll get there, you'll be recognized, okay? You bet. Anybody else? Okay, so we've got 5 of these, I think. Board and committee appointments. Item A, appointment of Aaron Reichel to the Joint Powers Water Board. I can read this. Aaron Reichel has volunteered to serve on the Joint Powers Water Board. Aaron serves on the Wyoming Colorado River Advisory Committee and the Wyoming Governor's Colorado River Working Group. He has worked the past 27 years in engineering operations and technical management at Genesis Alkali and FMC. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Councilman Berg.
I move to confirm the mayor's appointment of Aaron Reichel to the Joint Powers Water Board for a 3-year term beginning January 16th, 2024 and expiring January 16th, 2027.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Berg, seconded by Councilwoman Bushman. Is there any discussion? Why did that happen? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Reappointment of Kim Stride to the Joint Travel and Tourism Board. Kim has volunteered to serve another 3-year term. She has been on the board before. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Councilman Kilpack.
I move to confirm the mayor's appointment of Kim Stride to the Joint Travel and Tourism Board for a 3-year term beginning January the 16th, 2024 and expiring January 16th, 2027.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Kilpack, seconded by Councilman Berg. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item C, reappointment. Right, yeah. Reappointment of Neil Holcomb to the WYDOT Green River Urban Systems Advisory Committee. The city of Green River has several staff positions on the WYDOT Green River Urban Systems Advisory Committee. The mayor recommends the appointment of Neil Holcomb to the YDOT Green River Urban Systems Advisory Committee for a 2-year term. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 people to reappoint to that board. So I'm not going to read that every time. Okay, entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to confirm the mayor's appointment of Neil Holcomb to the YDOT Green River Urban Systems Advisory Committee for a 2-year term beginning February 1st, 2024 and expiring January 31st, 2026.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Williams, seconded by Councilwoman Bushman. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appointment of Dustin Romero to the YDOT Green River Urban Systems Committee. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Councilwoman Bushman.
I move to confirm the mayor's appointment of Dustin Romero to the YDOT Green River Urban Systems Advisory Committee for a 2-year term beginning February 1st, 2024 and expiring January 31st, 2026.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilwoman Bushman, seconded by Councilman Berg. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Reappointment of Rachel Todd to the YDOT Green River Urban Systems Advisory Committee. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Councilman Berg.
I move to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Rachel Todd to the YDOT Green River Urban Systems Advisory Committee to a 2-year term beginning February 1st, 2024 and expiring January 31st, 2026.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Berg, seconded by Councilwoman Bushman. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. One more, reappointment of Mark Westensco to the YDOT Green River Urban Systems Advisory Committee. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to move to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Mark Westenscal to the YDOT Green River Urban Systems Advisory Committee for a 2-year term beginning February 1st, 2024 and expiring January 31st, 2026.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Williams, seconded by Councilman Kilpack. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 6, council action items. Consideration of an amendment to the agreement with Wyoming Waste Systems. I'm going to read this. Wyoming Waste Systems has requested to stop green waste services during the winter months. This went before council on December 19th, 2023, and after the discussion, the motion was tabled. If approved, Green Waste Services would stop as of January 16th, 2024 and start up again in mid-April of 2024. Reed, do you have anything to add in this?
Mayor, Council, this was brought before you in December when there was a review of the CPI index that they're allowed to do on a yearly basis for the rate increase. They had another small rate increase dealing with the recycling that they want to do. They also approached trying to mitigate the amount of green waste, as there's very little pickups that are done during the winter for yard waste. They were looking to try to negotiate or come up with the time each year that would be with staff in the contract to go ahead and stop the services during a certain amount of time. And then they would also continue to do with the Christmas tree pickup that they would select a date on. When that came before, we ended up doing a workshop. We had that last week, talking with them. Part of the discussion also, there was discussion regarding for this year, it would be probably about 6 pickups for the time that they're looking to do right now. Of course, if the weather changes, it would come sooner than in the April one that they talked to. Would have to be in communication with that. And that they pulled the cost increase that they wanted to do on the recycling as part of this. So that's where we stand.
Okay. Sir, if you would like to step up to the mic, somebody will turn it on for you and you can express your concerns or whatever it is you'd like to say.
Hi, I'm James Hannum. Live just up the street. And obviously a customer, a paying customer, and the way I look at this is yet another example of what's going on in our entire country, and that's less services for more money. If they want to curtail this, I can certainly understand, because there is very little yard waste to be picked up this time of year. Common sense, fine. Start giving us weekly pickup of our recycle then. I just don't see where I should have to keep paying the same amount for trash removal when I'm not receiving the same services. And that's all I've got to say on the matter.
Okay, we appreciate
you.
it. Thank you. Okay, who would like to, Michelle, did you have anything that you wanted to? Okay. I'm going to turn it over to council.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Kilpack.
my understanding, the proper approach is before we can have any discussion on this, we have to make a motion.
Okie dokie.
Is that correct?
Well, you can always have discussion, I think, but go ahead.
I don't have any discussion because I
Oh, I
just want to
understand.
do it right.
Okay,
Because I think we have to make a motion to untable it before we can even talk about it. And then we have to make a motion on the suggestions of motion 2 or 3. My understanding, Reed, if I'm right on that, we're not making the motion of both 2 and 3. It's just one or the other, correct? Okay. And so then after motion number 3, that's when we would go into discussion. And then at that point in time, then we can discuss as a council.
okay, so why don't you take care of the technical aspect of the first two and then we'll get down to the real issue, okay?
Okay. I make a motion. I move to untable the approval of the First Amendment to the refuse service contract with Wyoming Waste System, amending yard waste collection to only run mid-April through mid-November with one time in January for the collection of Christmas trees.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Kilpack, seconded by Councilman Bushman to untable the issue. Is there any discussion? Any further discussion?
Just a question.
Sure.
When we untable it, that means that we're talking about readjusting the contract.
It
So-
just
Just bringing.
It just
Just
means
bringing
we're
it back
gonna,
up,
we're
like
gonna
Gary
start to
said.
talk about it. Yes.
Okay,
We're not taking any real action. We're just bringing it back up because it was tabled.
Okay.
Okay, any other? Okay, all in favor of the motion to untable signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. So go ahead with motion 2. Someone.
Mayor? Or
Yes.
Does anybody else want to do that? I move to consider the approval of the First Amendment to the refuse service contract with Wyoming Waste System, amending yard waste collection to only run mid-April through mid-November with one time in January for the collection of Christmas trees, whereas specific dates will be mutually agreed upon annually by both parties.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on these two?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I don't see the difference between motion 2 and motion 3. What's the difference? So motion 2 is just approving the. Okay,
Okay, I read through them before this and
it's
I
all
didn't-
French to me.
yes, exactly. Okay, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, is there any further discussion on this issue, council? Otherwise, we'll make a motion and then we can discuss it further. Is that what your pleasure is? Okay. So do we have a motion on this issue?
Mayor,
Councilwoman Bushman.
I move to approve the First Amendment to the refuse services contract with Wyoming Waste Systems, amending yard waste collection to only run mid-April through mid-November with one time in January for the collection of Christmas trees, whereas specified dates will be mutually agreed upon annually by both parties.
Who was that? Okay, so it's been moved by Councilman Bushman, seconded by Councilman Williams. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Williams.
Okay, the whole thing with this garbage thing is just like the gentleman said over there, we are giving away some, of our service to the citizens and stuff. I wish Waste Management could have come back with something back at us saying, and I understand there's not much green waste in the wintertime, but I wish they would have came back and said anything would have helped, like let's increase the weight at the scale house to compensate. Let's, just like the gentleman said over there, let's do some additional, cardboard pickup, stuff like that. I wish they would have thrown something back at us, like offered us something little bit, bang for the buck. And I understand when we had the workshop, she said that the person would not be laid off or nothing else, and they would go work something else. But the difference is we're losing an estimate of 400 hours of service every year. Because you're looking at 40 hours a week times 10 weeks, you're losing 400 hours of service to the city of Green River and the citizens. So like I'm saying, I just wish we would have compromised on some little, we'll give you something, we want something back. And that's why I'm gonna vote just to keep it the same. They do the green waste next 4 or 5 years according to the contract, unless they want to throw a bone back to us once in a while. So that's what I got.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Williams. Councilwoman Bushman.
I concur with my fellow councilperson. There was nothing that was provided as a benefit to the city. It was just a benefit for Waste Management, and having an extra cardboard container would have been a nice gesture, but we've had none. So that's my only comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have a comment.
Councilman Kilpatrick.
Looking at it from a business standpoint, I understand what Wyoming Waste is trying to do, because it's kind of silly to send out a truck for 40 hours during the week to pick up 5 or 6 cans. Is that how many cans it is that we're picking up? About 5 or 6 a week of yard waste, if that. So it's kind of silly to send out a driver to pick up, working 40 hours in a week to pick up 5 or 6 cans. From a business standpoint, I think that's really, really silly. And so I can understand exactly what you're saying. And then I can also see a side that the citizens were like a cut in the rate for that one truck. And then looking at it again from a business standpoint, it's not going to be much of a savings to the city if they had to do that. It's very, very minimal. So maybe they'd change the rate for that 3 months, drop off $3 or $4 or something. It wouldn't be a whole lot. So I don't think it would be that bad just to, this is just my opinion, but it'd have to change the whole motion and everything. Just stop running a green waste truck and let the garbage truck pick up those 6 cans that week. And just, that's only 6 weeks out of those weeks. It's not 10 weeks, because you only go every other week. So if there's a can out there, just let that garbage truck pick up those cans. And then that way, from a business standpoint, you're not running that truck out. You're not changing the contract. There's nothing being changed in the contract, because you have that right as a business owner to run out just that one truck and just pick up those 6 cans along with the can that they're picking up for garbage. So nothing's changed in the contract. So all they do is if they come up to a house and there's 2 cans there, just pick them up. I don't ever set my can out in the wintertime. I don't have any yard waste. Of course, I don't have a big yard, but I don't have any yard waste. And I would suspect very few people have yard waste. And to be really honest with everybody, there's times that I have put yard waste just in my regular can and never even stuck out my yard waste can because I didn't have that much. So my suggestion, which would have to change the whole motion, is you don't change the contract. You just run out that one truck. And if you run into a can out there that needs to be picked up, that one truck just picks them up and that gets dumped into the landfill. It doesn't get dumped into the yard waste. And for those 5 or 6 cans for those 6 weeks, it's not that big of a deal. So if I was running the business, that's exactly what I would do. And I would have never said anything to the city. I'd have just done it. That's just the way it would have been. And the reason I say that is because I ran a business for 35, 40 years. And it just does not make, and I agree with you, Michelle, it just does not make sense to run one truck out there for 40 weeks, for 40 hours, to pick up 6 or even 10 cans every other week for 6 weeks. Not worth it. So I understand your point. And so if nothing's changed, if we stay the same, I'm going to support her recommendation to not have to pick up that yard waste during those 3 months, because it's just silly to have to pay a driver 40 hours, because you'd have to run every route. You'd have to run every street to see in every house to see if there's that one can there, which from a business standpoint is absolutely silly in the middle of the winter.
At a time in which for service provision, there's no need for that service. And that's
Exactly.
demonstrated by the history of what goes on here. You know, it's what was your name, sir? Gene? James. You know, I know it's very popular to at the moment to be critical of government and for good reason and for well, okay. Okay. Okay, but the reality is in this case, I think it's a in this case, I think it becomes a philosophical rather than a practical type of an argument in my mind. Because I've talked with quite a few people that several of them sitting in this, and they say the same thing that Councilman Kilpack says is, and you're probably the same. I don't put my garbage or my yard waste out. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, yes, sir.
Want me to stand up or just talk from here?
No, it does, well, it really doesn't matter, whatever you like. to do.
My name is Jared Zekroff. I'm against the motion. I think we're minimizing the actual benefit to waste management and not getting any of that for the citizens. The agenda said it's from mid-November to mid-March or mid-April, which is 10 weeks. You subtract the 1 week for Christmas tree pickup, that's 9 weeks we're not getting service. 9 out of 52 weeks when they're not coming by to pick that up would be about a 17%. But I guess if they're picking up trash every week, so it'd be about a 9%, 8.5% benefit that we're not getting to the citizens.
Not true. That's not, well, your statement is untrue.
The 8 to 9% benefit?
Your statement's untrue because the garbage pickup is every other week. So if you go 10 weeks, you're only picking it up 5 weeks.
No,
Not-
5 months is
She's not
20
a-
weeks.
She's not asking for 5 months. She's asking for 3.
Right, 5 months times 4 weeks a month is 20 weeks. I already divided that by 2, which is 10. Okay, I'd like to know the math though, how much they're actually saving instead of just being told I'm wrong.
You are wrong. I don't have the numbers, but you are wrong.
Oh.
Because it's only 6 weeks that she wouldn't be picking up the
6 weeks
solid waste.
is what, 3 months?
It's not even 6 weeks. It's only you take 3 months and she does
It's
it.
5 months. Middle of November to middle of April is what the agenda says. That's December, that's January, that's February, that's March, half of November and half of April. That's 5 months without pickup. That's a lot more than 6 weeks.
You're right. You're
Thank
right
you.
there. But
Michelle, did you want to address any of these comments that came up?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I think for the most part, so from a business standpoint, as Councilman Kilpack has stated, last year we did exactly what Councilman Kilpack said. Wanted to be transparent, wanted to be honest with the council and the city of Green River and its residents, letting them know what we were doing. We have figures looking at last year, I believe from December through February, there was a mere 6 tons of green waste taken to the transfer station. That was residents taking it to the transfer station. With us picking it up, 2 carts in a day or 5 carts in a day doesn't even amount to 100 pounds. It was being mixed with the trash. It was being taken to the landfill. It's not worth the time to run the whole route, then take those 5 cans at the transfer station. And some of the road wasn't necessarily in the best of condition, or where we would need to empty that yard waste was in the best condition that it would even make a difference. So yeah, we mixed it with the trash. And, again, I wanted to come to the council and be transparent about what we were doing and asking for, something that the residents were already putting in place. To have it out there and Reed had sent me a question this morning about, if a customer has a green waste out, what do we want to do if this motion is approved? And I said, what I would like to see happen and what I would prefer to be done we would call that customer and we would give them the option. If it's not full, maybe they store it. If it's full, we'll come by with our container truck, pick it up, take it up to the transfer station and empty it into the yard waste roll-off bin up there and give them a new cart. Then it gets emptied into the yard waste area. And we would do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays if it happened to be needed. If it was trash in that yard waste container, then it's an extra pickup. I did not want to confuse residents about us picking up the yard waste with the trash, because then it becomes a second container usage and it's more trash, and then we have to re-educate. And so wanted to keep yard waste, with the recycling services being an every other week program. If we moved that to go to a weekly program during this time frame, then you're confusing residents again, going back to every other week. Well, what week am I on? Granted, we have the calendars and everything out there, but it's still confusing. So trying to eliminate the confusion, the re-education of what was going into the containers and what's accepted. That was the proposal, to the city. And again, just wanting to be honest with the city, be, upfront, our integrity was here, and wanting to just put out what the residents were already doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there anybody else that would like to comment? Okay, what's your pleasure, council?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion. And it'll probably fail, but I'd still like to make that a motion to amend the motion. And I'd like to amend the motion for it to say, I don't know how I'm going to state this, but I move to approve the first, I'd like to just make an amendment to the motion that we allow Wyoming Waste during the winter months to send out 1 truck, and in that 1 truck to pick up yard waste if those cans are out there. That they are not obligated to have to send out the 2 trucks all week long to pick up 5 or 6 cans. Now, I don't know if that's how y'all want to make the motion, but that's what from a business standpoint, it's just absolutely silly to require somebody to run 40 hours a week to pick up 5 or 6 cans. And if we want to be a business-friendly community, we need to make some, we need to work with those companies like Wyoming Waste, which is the one on the schedule tonight. So how to make that motion or that amendment?
Well, I think everybody understands
Yeah.
the difference. It's you pick it up. If it's put out, they'll pick it up.
Yep.
Or we would allow that. I don't know how that's going to go down, but we'll see. Okay, does everybody understand that motion? Is that the way they
The
understand
amendment.
it?
The amendment.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Here's another option. It seems like, I mean, or we can do whatever you guys do, but do we need to table this and discuss this further? Because it's a mess, quite frankly, it seems to me. But if not, we can take whatever action the council wants. We do have 2 people missing.
Well, we have to act on the motion. And now we have to act on the amendment. And if nobody, no, they're not.
Hang on. First off, we don't have to act on anything. You can always table.
Well,
Can you not?
We do have to take care of Gary's motion.
yeah, you have to take care of my, hey,
You have to ask if anybody's gonna say.
we have attorneys here and we have a city administrator here to guide us in the proper direction. That's not your place to do that. Sorry, Mayor, for saying what I shouldn't.
Well, again, I asked for a second. And is anybody going to motion?
I have to vote on my amendment.
Is anybody going to second Gary's motion? Okay, that dies for lack of a second. Okay. So we're back to the original motion, which is to either basically approve this or not. Correct?
I'm only going to give advice if you'd like it, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Chris.
So you can do a couple options, Mr. Mayor.
And just
As
tell
far as
everybody who you are here. Okay.
Chris Meets, Director of Finance, City Clerk. So you've got a couple options you can do here. Following the procedures that are set forth in the city ordinances, you can vote on motion at hand. You can let the motion vote for die of lack of a vote. Those are also both options. Or you can add an additional motion to table if you would like. Or you can do an additional motion to amend it in any other direction. Those are your 4 options. They do all come with different procedures and policies. And then how we would bring that back forth. Tabling it brings in the multiple motions, as you guys have seen earlier tonight. And that is definitely an option if you'd like to add more discussion. Or you can defer the vote to another meeting, which I would probably refrain from because that leaves the motion open and with nothing to do. Or you can, to take care of the motion on hand, you've either got to vote on it or table it, one of those 2 options.
Okay. So we've got this motion number 3, which was made in the book. That's the current motion before us in view of the fact that we've tabled it or didn't get a second on the other motion, right? So is there any further discussion on this particular motion? Yes, Councilman Kilpack.
The only further discussion I have on this is if we table this motion, winter will be over by the time we get it done.
Well,
Because it's just going to keep.
that's
pushing it.
irrelevant because
But it's,
we're not talking about just this winter. We're talking about long term.
but anyway,
At least
that's
the
what
term of the
happened.
contract. So if we wanted to, if we felt that that somehow there needed to be more discussion, that would be a completely legitimate thing to table. However, at the moment, we have a motion on the floor and I'm going to ask for a vote on that motion. Unless anybody else has something that they want to offer. Okay, all in favor of let me think about this for a second, okay? All in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So the motion dies. It's a done deal at the moment. Okay? Is everybody So why don't, Chris, since you've just did it, just explain to the group here what exactly just happened. And speak up a little bit if you could, because I have a hard time hearing.
Sorry about that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So with the motion that you guys had on hand, you had a motion to approve the amendment to the contract. That amendment has since passed and died, for our vote on a no vote, not died, has went through a vote process and has went through a no vote. And the amendment itself will not pass and be administrated into the contract. That leaves that open up for Wyoming Waste to administer the contract as they feel they need to, under the provisions of the current contract. Council may readdress this at another time should they wish to relook at or rechange or revisit the contract at another council meeting.
So the effect of which is it goes on as business as usual, the way it was before this. Okay? Does everybody understand that? Okay, we're going to move on. And this is going to be very quick. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We're going to have reports and then we're done, just to let you scouts know. In fact, if you want to, do you got another 5 minutes to listen to city reports? Okay, so I won't have a call for a short recess. So go ahead, Mr. City Administrator. Let's hear your report.
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to thank Streets and Parks here for a job well done this past weekend, Friday and Saturday with the winter storm. We were looking at, it's our first major storm that we had, trying to get everybody on the same page and regarding the roads. And we also had the Tolman tournament here with a lot of buses from all around. And you're seeing 4 plow trucks out there taking care of the roads so those guys can get around, get to the motels and hotels and restaurants and stuff. So that was really good. A reminder, the University of Wyoming versus University of Utah is having a swim meet here at the Green River High School facility Friday at 2 p.m. So they're bringing in 2 of the it moved to 2, back to 2. So that's it's a good thing. It is free, but it good, can come in and see some good competition, collegiate level, from that. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Reed. Mr. City Attorney.
I have no report tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Mr. Councilman Kilpack.
The only comment I have is this weekend was a good weekend for the Tolman tournament. And it was good for the community to have that tournament in town. And I'm sure the businesses were happy to have their business improved because of the tournament. And the rec center did a great job in handling that process and making that a successful and in support with the school. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Williams.
Yeah, I'm just saying, next week is Bleed Green, so get up to the rec center and give some blood and see if we can beat Rock Springs again. That's it.
Good call. Councilman Berg.
The cheerleading showcase will be tomorrow for the cheerleaders from the Green River High School who will be competing at state on the 26th of January. So if anybody wants to get out and see the Green River cheerleaders perform, it'll be tomorrow night at, I believe, 6 o'clock. That's all I've got, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Berg. Councilwoman Bushman.
I also want to just appreciate the streets and plowing and actually just recognizing a lot of the neighbors in the community are just helping each other out and, helping out with the snow shoveling and all that good stuff. So I love this community. But I also want to just mention about packing out hunger from Western Wyoming Beverages. They do it. They're having it this Saturday. I'll be participating. They did 50,000 meals last year. I'm sure we're probably going to do it again. So if you want to participate, I'm sure they wouldn't mind more volunteers. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bushman. So they put together 50,000, right? That's what the volunteer effort is involved in. I think I'm going to try and get out there too. And I just want to also say the same thing. We have a great crew. Things are not perfect for the streets, but they get out there. And if you haven't seen them, I mean, not only were they fixing the streets and they were taking down all the Christmas lights in the same weather that you guys, and I know I don't like going out in it. And they're up on ladders and things like that, taking things down. So they did a heck of a job. And that's also true as I look out here and see some of our staff out there. That's also true of our police department and fire department out there in emergency situations, keeping us safe. We owe them a great deal of gratitude. The Tillman tournament, there was 24 teams. It was the biggest tournament. There was actually 23 schools, but one of them had 2 teams so that because they were big enough so that they could have equal groupings. And the Green River wrestling team, you know, came out number 1 in their group, and the girls wrestling team competed, the JVs competed, we had champions, there was all kinds of just a good success. And it's huge, huge, huge when you have all those different buses. I counted more than 16. And kudos to the city of Green River from the high school and the wrestling program, because we did provide the rec center so that they didn't, typically the format has been is that you have a bunch of wrestling mats and meets in Rock Springs because they participate in it too. So the teams had to go back and forth. They didn't have to do that. It actually was planned before the weather, but it was ideal in this weather situation that teams didn't have to go back and forth. So it was a big success for the city of Green River. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor.
Councilman
Motion to
Berg.
adjourn.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you to the scouts for showing up. And thanks again to the staff. And thank you, sir, for, it's important.